Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I feel like some of these days are flying by. Last week flew by, it felt like, and this week is dragging a little bit. I do have to confess to you that I've become one of the numbers. I have now binge watched The Tiger King on Netflix. Is anybody else watching that craziness? Has nothing to do with the funeral business, but yeah, it's just good TV. It's just really good TV. So hey everybody, hello. Um, Good to see you guys. L Porter, make sure you email me so that we can do our question and answer session. You were one of them that had commented first yesterday. Yeah, Becca, it's the best thing ever. Isn't it amazing? Crispy and a train wreck is what makes it good. So hope you guys are all staying healthy. Hopefully the virus is staying away from you and your families and the people you know. So I hope nobody's, hey, Teresa, not the Lion King, the Tiger King, that's on Netflix. It's just good, trashy, reality, weird TV. So it is awesomeness. Catch up, if you guys are bored too, catch up on some podcast episodes. Head over to Undertaking the Podcast and listen to Ryan and Brian over there. They've had a lot of really good content, talking to Caleb Wild and all sorts of other people. So check in with them. I'll Brush with Death, which is the National Funeral Directors Association's podcast with Gabe, who's an instructor up in Wisconsin at a mortuary school there. Check in. He's also had some good content. Nancy, no. There's a lot of more content being put out. So to satiate your sweet tooth for funeral business, dive in. I am doing a book review this week also on a new book that a funeral director's put out. So watch for that coming. Or maybe I'll post those towards the next week. I have a really fun video coming this weekend, which I'm really excited about because it answers a question that a lot of people pose to us as funeral directors. All right. So yesterday someone asked me a historical figure I would have loved to have directed the funeral for. And I still don't know if I have a great answer to that. I think that's such a deep question. Whose funeral would you guys like to have attended in history? That's a good question for you. All I can think is maybe like JFK would have been really interesting to be a part of that, or I don't even know. I feel like most people would think like a celebrity or something like that, but I don't know. There's a lot of Abraham Lincoln would be super cool, kind of old school. Who would you guys have wanted to be a part of a funeral for? I don't know. Some of them, I think I wanted to just see the train wreck up close, some of the stuff, but no, I haven't really done any, like anybody you would call celebrity, I guess, per se. Princess Diana's, that would have been insane to be on the backside of because of all that would have been encompassing to what a big, huge ordeal. I can't either, Becca, either be a part of or just kind of be there as an attendant. I feel like when you get to funerals that are that big, there are so many people there's not just one funeral director leading it all. There's this teams and there's security and there's media and so you have PR and, you have all these different teams. So it's not just a funeral director coordinating all of it. It then gets turned over to other people. And then you are just a piece of the puzzle instead of you kind of coordinating all of it. It really flips when it gets to that certain level because there's no way you have the knowledge base to handle funerals of that capacity typically. And in that, way, unless you're certain funeral homes that do those a lot. And there are a few funeral homes that do. Maggie, so like the royal funerals, they all use one funeral home in England, in London, and like the Queen's, her things have been in place for a very long time. It kind of, once you get into royalty, the plan's already there for if something happens, so that they can just roll it out rather than it be a shocking crap storm, overtaking the city. So, Pam, I'd gotten this great question, and this woman's brother had killed himself years and years ago. And he had at that time an ex-wife. So she wasn't really in charge. The brother's father would have been the immediate next of kin. And they donated his body to science. I would appreciate if you could tell me what happens to a body donated to science. In my mind, I see him hung by a meat hook in a freezer, having parts cut off and removed whenever a medical student has a project. After all these years, he's been used up and is gone. Have I just seen too many scary movies, or is it basically true? Please be honest, even if it's brutal. I can handle it. Well, you've come to the honest, about as honest as can get. So it really honestly depends on which medical school someone donates their body to, and you have to read the paperwork. Some medical schools retain the individuals just for their use, for their medical students, but some send the deceased out to, at that point, when you donate your body to science, you're a cadaver. That's what your body is then therein referred to as a cadaver. Your cadaver would be sent out to various schools. Yes, you may be dissected out into pieces. So your head may be sent over to the ear, nose, and throat division. Your arm may be sent over to, orthopedics, wherever they need to do something more specifically, they may do that. There are also testing facilities that cadavers are then, given out to for testing and studying. So every trajectory test that is done on bullets and things is done with cadavers. Crash test dummies on vehicles and things use cadavers. Helmets, all of the bulletproof vests and things that are used, they do use cadavers on a lot of that testing once they get to certain areas. So it is not just this, my dad died of prostate, we're donating his body, they're going to look at his body and they're going to help find a cure for prostate cancer. That's not how it works. Once in a while, there are individual studies going on that they do need specific deceased for. I know, especially like certain very minuscule, I just went completely blank on everything. I know that recently there was a study for a brain disease, and we had an individual that died and they wanted to donate his brain to that study. However, we did not get it to them in a quick enough period of time. So typically there's also a time limit. So within, it may be 2 years, 3 years, it may be 6 months. It's all defined on the paperwork that you fill out when you donate to that study. Is there a lot of background noise? Can you guys hear? Hold on a sec. You're going to see my sweatpants probably too. I do a video at a different time and that vacuum still wants to just turn on when I'm in here. So it depends where you donate. And then at the end of the donation, you will typically also mark whether you want the individual's cremated remains returned to you. So they will retain all of the parts and pieces of the individual and have them cremated. If the family would like them back, they will contact the family and let them know they're going to be mailing them, or, whatever their protocol is. Or they can then also choose to have them interred or inurned with all of the other individuals in a common grave space, wherever that place is for that school or that program. So it is a process, and it's very specifically laid out. If your dad chose to not receive the cremated remains back, then he would be buried or scattered in the place for that school. So what you have to find out is what school he is at or he was donated to. At this point, it's been so long that his time there would have been over. It's usually a very short period of time. I want to say 2 years is a decently longer period that they would hold an individual. Never seen any meat hooks, though, not hanging them up like that. But I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, because I've never been to every donation place. But, make sure you're checking into where they're being donated and that it's a good place. And if it's not a school and it's an organization, make sure you Google the heck out of them, because there are some out there that are not on the up and up. So there's a lot going on out there. How do you deal with maggots? So it depends on the state of the body. If we clean off the maggots and we can still have a viewing and everything, then we would just remove the maggots. There's chemicals that have been made for the funeral business and to kill maggots, but you can also use just other products, gasoline and kerosene, things like that. They don't like it, so that will do that. I feel the U.S. has a don't want to say robot about. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't want to talk about a lot of things when it comes to everything that goes on when somebody dies. And some of it is people just don't want to really know because they're not comfortable with any answer. It doesn't matter what the answer is. I know that, people ask me how I feel about death and about everything, and I'd rather not think about it all because it's hard to process even working around death and funerals and such. I mean, I know all the answers to all the specifics of the things I do, but it doesn't mean that I'm more comfortable with death and with losing loved ones. So I think it's just this huge unknown that it's hard to get comfortable with. Misty, that's a great question. Do you have suggestions for honoring a loved one during the crisis when you can't go to the funeral? So the Grave Woman and I did a really good video chat about this. That's going to be posting, I think, tonight or tomorrow on her channel. So make sure you check over there for the full video. There's so many things you can do, though. It's the biggest part is not just letting it not happen and letting yourself not be part of something by saying, well, I can't go to the funeral home, so I'm not going to do anything else. You can still pick up a phone. You can still send something, if from a company that's still open. You can still go drop off a card to the house and leave it in the mailbox. You can still phone them. You can still attend the live stream if there is one. Some funeral homes are doing drive-through visitation. So the family is like sitting outside and you can drive through in your car and just, put your hand against the window, wave at them, let them know you're there and that you love them. So you can still give support and love without our usual modes of doing it. So it just depends on what the funeral home's offering and being able to do. But reaching out, calling, FaceTiming, connecting with those people so they're not feeling alone. They've probably already gone through the death process, feeling isolated and alone, because even if you're not dying of COVID, which, it's a very small percentage that are right now, all these other deaths are happening. And that's the biggest problem, is you see this pile up of deaths. Well, it's not that all this COVID bodies are piling up per se. It's that all the people are still dying of all these other things, but the whole process is slowed down right now because of COVID-19. So that's why things are taking longer. That's why things are kind of getting congested and backlogged. But a lot of these people are not able to be with their loved ones when they died. So they've already gone through this death process alone. Now they have to go through the funeral process alone. So reach out and just be there for them during this time. I know I've missed a lot of things while I'm rambling, guys. So if you prepay a cremation now and the prices go up or the funeral home goes out of business, what happens? So if you fully pre-fund your funeral with one funeral home, you're not locked in with that funeral home. Your contract is, your money is in a third party. So what is locked in is their pricing for their services. You cannot lock in pricing for cash advance items. So like the crematory charge or the death certificates or the obituary, but your service items with that funeral home, once you're paid in full, are locked in. So they could triple the next day after you've done that and you don't owe any more. But if the price of like the crematory price goes up, you would owe the difference on that. Does that make sense? Did you watch the show 6 Feet Under? Yes, I did. I have a video on here too, kind of me talking about a lot of different funeral shows that I've watched. So make sure you go watch that. I loved it. Best ending of a show ever that I've ever seen. I had a gentleman named Jack, and he wrote me with some questions. He said, you work at several different funeral homes in your area. Are they owned by SCI? Are they family and conference? So the ones I work for currently are all independently owned. One is family run, so, you know, multi-generational. Others are just independently run. What kind of funeral plans do you want for yourself? Right now, I am more geared towards wanting natural burial, but it's up to my family. I can go on all day about what I want, but at the end of the day, it's what they want to do and what they need. So it's really up to them. What is my favorite casket, vault, and urn? So I'm going to do a video soon with my mom about both of our favorite caskets and what we would pick for each other. So I think that'll be kind of interesting. Am I still working during the pandemic as a freelance funeral director? So that's one thing that it's hard right now because all the staffing is cut, which means they don't need an additional person. So I'm not working much right now, which is really frustrating. I feel like I want to be helping people, but when they have limited hours within the funeral homes right now and you're cutting back on everything, you have to make sure your hourly people or your salaried people have enough hours. And then there's me. So I kind of feel like I'm in the bullpen waiting. That way, if anybody gets sick at any of the funeral homes that I might be needed at, then they will call me up and call her in, and then ninth inning. But so I'm just waiting and trying to help and connecting and making sure I'm just giving some kind of support. It's really hard and frustrating. So I'm kind of being mom duty right now and being with the kids and trying to help them figure out what's going on. They know they get to be at home with mom and they get to like sleep in and have more fun, and we get to play outside and they're enjoying each other. But this morning, my daughter, who's 4, is finally realizing what's going on in the world, I think, in her own way. And I said, all right, how are you feeling about things? And she said, I'm just worried. I said, what are you worried about? She said, I'm worried my friends have the coronavirus. And I said, honey, your friends are safe right now and they're at their homes, and hopefully we can do a Zoom video and see some of them. And so, they're worried about their limited world right now. These kids are. It's kind of like when people die, they don't worry about the big picture. They just worry about what's happening in their immediate world and their immediate time. And so being honest during this time is just as important as being honest during funerals. Guys, it's so important. Can my cremated remains be buried on top of an already interred family member? Yes. So most cemeteries will allow 2, if not up to 4 people on one grave space, as long as, the majority are cremated. So that's one thing I always talk to people if there's a cost issue, if they're thinking about some different things, and it saves on buying a whole new grave space by, burying somebody on somebody else's space that's already there, or somebody that already owns a space. So the person doesn't need to be buried there already. You can place the cremated remains there, or a child there. So typically you can do one full sized burial and one child or cremated remains on most cemetery burials. You will run into some cemeteries that charge you for a second interment on a grave space. So they're going to make, more cost for you to be doing that because they are losing the sale of another space. But when you get into kind of smaller country cemeteries, I haven't seen that happen with those. It's more of the corporate or the larger cemeteries that do that. What is natural burial? Natural burial is where it's kind of a broad term, but it's either you're using a more natural substance casket that's going to break down with no vault and no embalming, or you're using a shroud or something of that nature that is going to regenerate back into the earth. You're not using, chemicals on the body and preparation, and so it's natural, so that the person regenerates back to the earth. Kari, with all these deaths going on, why are funeral homes slashing hours? Well, they're cutting hours because they're limiting their staff. They want their staff in the buildings, as limited as they can. On the backside, they're still, doing the removals and the preparation and handling the bodies 24/7. So that part of it's not changing, but they're limiting hours with, encountering the public. There's a lot of funeral homes who are not meeting with families in person. It's only over the phone, only, virtual, like a FaceTime or a Zoom meeting with a family to make arrangements. They are limiting a lot because you're not just exposing, the people that visit the funeral home to each other, you're exposing your whole staff. And if the staff gets exposed and starts getting sick, who's going to care for all the dead? So we have to keep ourselves safe and keep our family safe as well, because there's just too much to this. When shaving a deceased, do you prefer a blade or a safety razor or an electric razor? So it depends. I know a lot of people who use the electric razor if the person has a much larger beard or longer beard that we have to go, and then go with the blade razor at the end. I mean, just like a 3-blade Bic razor or whatever is what I typically use. Buy them in bulk or whatnot. I don't like to reuse razors often. You want a really sharp razor when you're shaving, especially a man who has a lot of stubble, because you can get a lot of razor burn. Dehydration is a big deal. And so anywhere that you would get maybe a little razor burn usually is going to dry out quickly overnight. And so much sharper razor is always the best way to go for that. Reading through my emails, guys, that you guys sent. 2 years ago, I knew nothing about the funeral industry, and my parents, in their wisdom, after seeing your videos, did the pre-need arrangement for themselves so as kids wouldn't have to deal with any of it. Oh, this is one that was just a nice email to me. And I thought that was crazy cool. That these people, they saw my video, and so they went and did pre-arrangements so that they had things in order. Like, just the coolest thing ever. There's a lot of cool things that you guys tell me. Love my coffee. Like, thank you. I just had this one made, it's the little vinyl lettering. But I had to do with Little Miss Funeral and the Grave Woman, we did their birthday giveaway thing. And so the person who won my birthday giveaway prize, we'll get one of these mugs and a bag of coffee. So I think they're still trying to connect with her. How do you feel about organ tissue donation? So that's a big question. Is it Curzetta? Like what part of it? I am obviously for saving lives and for helping other people. So it just depends what you're wanting, what you're asking about it. I know, Robin. So the other day I ordered some merchandise, guys. So hopefully everything, of course, is delayed during all this, getting shipping. But hopefully next week I'll have the coffee mugs and I'll get everything loaded up on my website to have for sale, which is crazy to have merchandise. So I told my daughters we're going to have a little merchandise set up store and they can help me, wrap up some coffee mugs for sale. Becca, did your subscribers jump? No, they haven't. A little bit. It's funny that more people are watching. I'm having I'm having a new group of people commenting on a lot of videos, which has been really good the last 2-3 weeks. So I was hoping to get to 50,000 by the end of March, though. Yesterday, I was like, I don't think we're going to get there. That's okay. It's never been about numbers doing this. It's just kind of fun to have some goals. Me and the girls did every 10,000 goal up and down my wall. And we have kind of a reward thing for, as a family, getting 10,000 up because they know that mom has to do work in here. And so in my office, but, going for a question. How do you feel, my mom? Can you talk about direct burial? Direct burial, just like direct cremation, is where someone is immediately buried. There's no services, there's no viewing typically. We take somebody, we place them in a casket. So a lot of times we're still dressing them and doing their hair and stuff, and then we go and we bury them. If just like an immediate cremation, where we would take somebody, process the paperwork, and have the person cremated and give back to the family. So you can always, go a different route and have a graveside service and stuff, but then it's not a direct burial. So it just depends. Have your children ask any questions about what's going on with the virus? I just talked about this a few minutes ago that, they ask questions and stuff, but their world is small. And at the ages that they are, and they're just worried about their friends and worried that their friends are sick and worried about their teachers, and they have each other and they're really excited that we're home and we're having fun, and that's to them more important than anything. They don't see a big world picture. That's why even explaining it to them doesn't connect with them, because they don't have a concept of how big the world is and how things affect each other. And that's why explaining death to kids is you just give them simple information that they can use at their age and be honest with them. And as they grow older, they'll understand more and you can give them more information. Same thing with this. There's nothing, the only thing I do tell them is if you get hurt, mom can't go with you to the hospital. And that to me is the biggest deal, because my one daughter is very accident prone like I am, and she fell off a stool yesterday and then got hit in the head because she walked beside her sister on the swing. And I'm like, girl, if you get hurt and the ambulance has to come, I can't go with you. I said, so we have to really just be safe during this time, because I don't want you in the hospital and mommy not to be able to be there. To me, that's, the bigger issue for me right now is just keeping them safe because of that. Oh. So Pope John Paul II, when he died, he was made available for viewing. However, they said he wasn't embalmed, but prepped. I need to look back into that because I know I've read about it. I think he was on a cooling table, so there was like ice under him. I'll look into that though, so I can comment on it next week. So vaults, you can put a seal on them. You can put a coating on the outside, you can put plastic on the inside and a liner, and you can do everything you want to do, but you can't fight nature 100% of the time. It just doesn't work, especially when you have super high water tables. There's a lot of pressure from water and it can get through. The seal on a vault is the same seal that is on a airplane window. So we know how strong that is. So if water can get in and get through that, it's a more powerful force than we can fight with a lot of what we do with vaults and everything. So would you ever let your kids watch you embalm someone? Yes, 100%. So when they're older, they'll see more. They've been at the funeral home and they've seen people, in different stages of preparation, from just being brought in to being in the prep room on a table in there to getting their hair and makeup done and things. I want it just to be a natural part of what they experience in this life, because I think life and death are very important things. When they get much older, I am fine with my kids seeing what happens when you drink and drive, and, getting that realistic kind of a little bit of scare tactic that these are realities and things happen because you make choices, and this is what can happen and you're not immune to it. Because I think especially as teenagers feel immune to the world, that, it's never going to happen to me. And, I won't die texting and driving. I won't die drinking and driving. And my boyfriend would never kill me, or my girlfriend would not, like there's so many things that you just believe when you're in that age, and there's reality. And I don't want them to be terrified of the world, but I just want them to understand that real things happen, and that none of us are immune. Hey, Adam, how are you? I'm doing good. My kids understand that when somebody dies, mom takes care of the body of the person, and they understand that I help the family. So there's times my husband and I laugh because I'll say, "Okay, mommy's got to go work," and they'll say, "Who died? What's their name?" And I'll say, "I don't know. I'll let you know when I get home, if I run in to go do an embalming or something." And so they understand enough. They don't, they're only going to understand so much at their age, but we go to visitations for anybody we know to support people if we knew the deceased or not. So we go, and their babysitter, just recently, the girl had been a babysitter to them, and she was a neighbor, and she died of cancer recently. And we went to her visitation, and they got to ask questions. And, it's important when we take kids and we expose them to these things. We're not just exposing them to death and to the dying. We're showing our kids that when we do sad, we do it together as a family, and mom and dad are sad for this reason, and we support our friends when things happen, and we support our family, and we do these things together. And this is important as a community, to support each other and then be there for people in every way that we can. During this COVID-19, we have sent more mail. We are supporting the United States Postal Service insanely. Yesterday, we put 9 letters in the mail, just to elderly people we know that we love, to friends, to family, to just to whoever, just reaching out and supporting, and for them to understand that that's what you do is really important to me. So we have a thing hung in our window. We have some neighbors, they came back early from Florida and are, quarantined in their house, and they're like a little grandmas and grandpa to us. And we have a big sign in our window, and we change the top thing every day, and it says, their name below it. So it'll say, like, this morning, how's breakfast? And then it says their name. And so every day they've changed. It was like, welcome home, have a good day, good morning, high five. So every day we're changing the sign just to give them something to look forward to as well, because you have to think and realize how limited some people's worlds are right now, and just any connection is a good connection. Why do cancer people look gray? I don't find that they do. Yep, I believe in spirits or ghosts or something else out there. So I have had a couple encounters. I did do a video, so search on my channel for paranormal. The one funeral home that I work in is supposedly super haunted. A lot of people have experienced things, so we want to set up a camera one night. We're like, oh man, we might never want to go in there if we actually catch something on camera. So, yeah. Good morning, Kari. I'm glad. Have you had any COVID cases at my firm yet? You know, this is the thing with this COVID. So this has probably been around longer than it's been in the media and longer than we've all talked about it. So we have probably handled cases that people have had this virus and we just don't know it. So we're also seeing that, and there's a lot of articles, a lot of firsthand that we're hearing that COVID is being put as a contributor because the person was maybe exposed to it, but they don't know for sure that they have it because they can't do the testing quick enough, or that someone previously had it and it incapacitated their lungs, but they don't currently have it. So then that's not being put as the cause of death. So you've got all these different variables that there's no true numbers. That's why the numbers are so skewed, because it is not the cause of death. It's a contributing factor. People are dying from pneumonia or for something else. So COVID-19 is not like your main cause a lot of the time. So numbers are skewed. It's hard to know for sure if we've taken care of somebody or not, because I'm assuming that we probably have long before this was ever on the radar. Like it was out there and it was going around. So the whole thing is skewed in numbers. That's why don't believe the numbers, guys. Always don't believe what you're seeing. Always. The media is so skewed. The media is so off base with a lot of stuff. So don't buy into everything. Oh, crazy, crazy. Anyway, thank you guys for joining. Watch for some good videos this week. I'm doing one with Benjamin Schmidt, who is a teacher at Worsham in Chicago area, and it's a really fun one. So I was really excited about this. I'm trying to do some fun but educational stuff for you guys right now, just because I know we all need entertainment value. I don't have Tiger King level of entertainment to show you. No mullets here, but still trying to come out with some good stuff. So I will talk to you guys soon. Make sure you send me questions. As always, email over, and when I have the mugs and stuff next week, I will get it all posted and sent out. It's so surreal to have merchandise, and it's been a crazy, but it's kind of been a fun distraction to come up with a few things to be able to offer to you guys. So thank you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.